Movies at the end of the day are movies, good, bad, and indifferent. The directors claim to use their creative license to play around with facts and details, leaving it to viewers to judge. It becomes complicated, however, when governments and political parties jump into the creative field and use cinema for political agendas. And in the process, bona fide citizens are targeted and animosity and hostility promoted in a bid to polarize sections of society. Kashmir Files, a movie that has showcased the terrible attack on Kashmiri Pandits, has created considerable controversy, with Pandits still living in the valley feeling less instead of more secure. More so as it is a movie about times where every good citizen in Kashmir was under threat during the years of militancy and almost every house paid a price, Hindu or Muslim, or for that matter, Sikh. In this episode of Offlimits, we speak to a Kashmiri Pandit whose family did not leave the valley in the worst years and whose voice, like many of his brethren in and outside the valley, is sane and rational. So our guest this week for Offlimits is Sanjay Tickoo. He is the president of the Kashmir Sangharsh Samiti, which was formed in 1995. He was one of the founders. And he has been very, very active in the valley, being one of those Kashmiri Pandits who decided to stay back in Srinagar even while the militancy was on. And he has very recently, actually, just about 2 years ago, had a dharna and a demonstration against, or actually for the rights of Kashmiri Pandits in the valley and the fact that they were being ignored. So welcome to Off Limits, Sanjay ji. It's good to see you again after a long time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So you've seen Kashmir Files?
No, I didn't see, but I see some of the clips.
वहाँ पे available नहीं है valley में?
Because all the cinema halls are closed since 1990, so it's not available in Kashmir. But pirated one is.
But it's not being shown in the cinema halls, so ज़्यादातर लोग नहीं देख पा रहे हैं क्या?
नहीं, मुझे लग रहा है कि in Kashmir at least 60-70% had seen this movie. As the pirated one is available in
Okay. So it would help if it was put on YouTube, no? Then everybody could see it, as Arvind Kejriwal said just 2 days ago.
and during last 7 to 8 years, anything can happen. So that's why this Kashmir File have come into the force, and the highest office of this country is also promoting this movie.
So your colleagues, your family, other people must have seen it. अगर आपने भी ज़्यादा नहीं देखी है. So what do you feel? Do you feel it is portraying? I mean, obviously, what happened in the 1990s, nobody can get away from that. The fact that the Kashmiri Pandits were attacked, they were made to flee, many fled. But when you put it into a perspective of Kashmir during those years, then, you know, the counter, it's all polarized now. One people speaking for the Kashmiri Pandits, another lot speaking for the Kashmiri Muslims. Whereas actually, you've always told me, and I want you to say it here if you still believe it, that everybody suffered.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because if you go through the chronology of the events way back from 88 till today, तो no doubt कि सबसे पहले हम ही टारगेट पे थे in 1991-92. That's why our community has to leave the valley in such a way. But if you go through the events in 89-90 or 91, it's not all the matter of Kashmiri Pandits, because we have been always labeled as the government of India as a Jansangi. So that was in the minds of the general public. But there was so many killings and rapes of the Muslim majority also in the valley in 1990, 91, 92, and after that, so many incidents took place in the valley. But unfortunately, at that time also, I don't blame the entire Kashmiri Muslims, because they were under the influence of gun at that time. But there are scores of incidents where the Kashmiri Muslim neighbor saved the Kashmiri Pandit or the colleagues in the offices also. And nobody, even before this movie also, nobody talks about the positiveness of this conflict also, because conflict has the two versions. The one is the negative one and one is the positive one, which actually shows the character of a society, character of an individual, whichever faith he belongs to. In 1990 also, I always quoting this, that 60% Kashmir Pandits were saved by their own neighbors and own colleagues, because उस समय क्या था कि मस्जिदों में there was the hit list were pasted there, and there were the names of the Muslims and the Kashmiri Pandits also. So शाम की नमाज के बाद जब वो निकलते थे, because they know each other, we know each other's name and nicknames. So they want to try to save, to give the information to the Kashmiri Pandits, those who are on the list. And because in downtown, especially in the downtown area, we live, our houses are very, very, very much closely knitted. So they tried to give the information and save the people, and there are so many stories like that. And even in the villages also, because we don't have at that time the private vehicles with us. So it was the Muslim driver or the Muslim neighbor or the Muslim friend who was having the vehicle at that time. So the person who trusted that person, he called him and told him that we are feeling unsafe. So please help us. So they did come out, but not openly, but I can say on humanitarian grounds, or the relations not between the two communities. I always told you there was no relation between the two communities, but there was a relation between the two individuals actually, the two friends actually, which actually saved so many Kashmiri Pandits also.
Right.
But under the influence of gun and under the not influence, but the shadow of the gun at that time was so much. There was thousands of militants were roaming in gully kochas on roadsides also.
So this is later. This is 90, closer to 90, when the Hizbul came.
91, 92.
Yeah.
91, 92.
Ji.
And maximum killing was done by the JKLF in the entire Kashmir Valley, because आपको पता ही है कि हमने 2008-2009 में एक सेंसस किया था, अपना खुद किया था हमने, and we went village to village, district to district to find out our resident Kashmiri Pandits who never left the valley. And so we asked these questions to the individuals also, the family also. So maximum there was यही था कि 1990 में जितनी भी killings हुई है कश्मीरी पंडितों की, there was almost done by the KLF, because KLF was a big organization during that time. So after that it was Hizbul Mujahideen, and there was at a point of time 144 military organizations were operating in the valley. Mostly they were the locals, because they were knowing who is who and who is working in which department. And you will be surprised, there was a recce done by the people way back in it is 87, 88, and they collected the data of the Kashmiri Pandit employees where they are working. And just here in Barbarsha, in Habakadal area, there was a killings of some Kashmiri Pandits that was not done by the local. Local means that which were from the city. They were from the far off place.
Mm.
So it was not possible for them to identify Sanjay where he is living. So only the locals know that where I am living. So that clearly indicates that it was not 89, 90. It was before that. And virtually the establishment during that time failed, visibly failed. That includes the Intel also, that includes the central government also and the state government also. So that's why what we have.
Yeah, I'm just interrupting because you and your mother and family decided you would not go. Why? And at that time, there were many hundreds who decided not to go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be frank, we don't have any answer. Those who have left the valley, they have the answer that they were being threatened. There was the names in the hit list. But if you ask 808 families who are presently living in the valley, we too asked this question in our census drive also. But nobody has any solid answer why we remain in the valley. And all 808 families faced the threats from the militant organizations in early 90s. So it was not that they were very friendly with us during that time. So, but anyhow.
So, do you think that the government played a major role in this whole, creating this whole environment? Do you think that the government at that time could have helped people stay back? Or do you think it was inevitable, the exodus?
It was not possible for the government also during that time because the entire establishment was totally collapsed, and those who were responsible for the security of the common Kashmiris, they too were involved and they were giving that support to the militant organization during that time. You will be surprised that during the crackdowns in the early 90s, the militants were given shelter in the police station. So this was the type of concern in the valley. So it was not possible for them. Yeah, the only possibility was that they should not have been allowed to cross Jawahar Tunnel to go to Jammu. So we had so many of areas within the city also where they could have established these camps there and put army or the security forces protect them, but they allow them. So that was the biggest mistake done by the people who were running the show.
Now, the Sangharsh Samiti had done some kind of a census of the number, tabulation of the number of Kashmiri Pandits who died at the hands of militants. So it was, I remember, 600 and something in your figures?
So far, we have reached 693.
693. And which is about half of what the Muslim Kashmiris who died or more. I mean, there's a discrepancy, right? There's 600 plus of 690 of the Kashmiri Pandits who were killed by militants. But there were how many who were killed by the Kashmiri Muslims who were killed by the militants? That was double or triple?
No, we are on the job because we already filed the RTI way back in 2012 or 2013. And we have asked every police stations in the valley to provide us the all militancy related incidents right from 89 till 2012 or 13. So that's a huge.
So you'll get the figures then.
We are on the job at least to give 2 or 3 years complete data to compile that and put it before the public through media or through any other source, so that people must know it was not only the Kashmiri Pandits who got killed during that time, early militancy period, during the exodus time, but there are the peoples from the majority also. There were the rapes also of the majority, some of the majority women also. And we were surprised that there is a huge casualty of CRP also during that time, because when CRP landed here, so they were told that you are for the election duty. They landed here in the month of January after I think 23rd of Jan. So they do have only having the sticks in their hand and somewhere holding these SLRs or any other guns. So they too were killed because they were not knowing.
It was a period of fear and terror which affected everybody living in Kashmir, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we can say it. So then when that I know that it's a sad environment to be talking of unity, but it does happen that citizens either suffer together or celebrate together or enjoy together, and the majority is sort of united in any given state or city, right? So do films like Kashmir Files, I'm sure Agnihotri is free and he should be free to make any movie he wants, but the kind of some distortions of facts which people are talking about, or the environment or the sentiment it is invoking, does that help or does that hinder?
It will never help any community or any nation, because when you, it is like from the majority also. When we talk to the majority, civil society, human rights group for last 10-15 years, and when they were documenting the atrocities done by the state actors, I asked them, I request them that why don't you also compile the minorities killings also in the valley, and the atrocities which we have gone through during last so many years.
Yes,
it is both sides, but the movie always makes an impact on a person or the community, because some scenes remains in your brain for longer time. So this movie is doing that kind of thing, and there was no point of time to raise the Jai Shri Ram slogans, because I once told you that my Shri Ram is not for is a tissue paper. Whenever you want to use it and you are using it and thrown into the dustbin. So they are making my religious. I am hurting while they were shouting Jai Shri Ram or other things, and so is vis-a-vis with the Muslims also. It's not when they are on the roadside, why they are using the Islamic these slogans. So it is both sides. So I think this has because of this movie, the entire India, there is so much of huge gap between the Hindus and the Muslims as on date, and Muslims feel wherever the minority is, because we are minority in the valley, but there are the minorities, Hindu minorities in the Muslim dominated area or Muslims in the Hindu dominated area, Sikhs are there, Christians are there. We only as a minority know how we survive it, these kinds of things when it's not in a proper shape.
Yeah.
So it's the polarization is on. So we cannot deny it. And people is here in the valley because the age group between 16 and 21, they were never knowing about the composite culture of Kashmir. They were just hearing from the elders.
Mm.
And in 1990, because the elders, just like my age or above my age, we were living in a composite culture.
Mm.
And we were sympathetic towards each other.
Mm.
But you cannot, as on date, the person, the youth who is on the road as on date, or who is holding the gun as on date, he's just categorically telling the parents that don't interfere in our matter. We know how to do it. That's why elders are more concerned after this movie than the youth, because in a conflict zone, when you are faced, when you have, because we are seeing guns 24 into 7, so there is no threat of gun as on date for the people who's living in Kashmir especially. So it's like before that it was a lollipop, and children were just weeping that we want this lollipop. Then we told the children, no, we will do this thing, that thing. We want to just avoid that situation. But when gun is open from the both sides, तो नेचुरली ये तो हो जाता है, इट्स बाय डिफॉल्ट कि फिर आपको डर नहीं लगता.
So you, with your experience, are fearing the times ahead if these kind of sentiments are given play, right? And the young people also, there's much more unemployment, there's much more frustration, and the gun brings with it a sense of power, which is a completely wrong power. And I think, would you agree that this is being exploited by politicians, not just all over India and Kashmir, but maybe across the world?
Yeah, it's absolutely correct, because politicians, whosoever comes into the power, he wants to remain in the power for longer time. So they are using the inhuman things so that they remain in the power. So I actually I am surprised why the highest office of the India is promoting this movie, and they are saying that it's not matter of the BJP is this time. I mean, even before the Congress also. We are telling the people that what we have gone through for last 32 years. If you talk about the KPSS, whosoever visited me during last 20 years, I am showing them that the photographs, I am telling them the stories which we have gone through, how the peoples were brutally killed, not only the KPs but the other communities also. And today the one particular party is telling that, oh, itna kuch hua hai. So why is that? Why is that? Na? And now the picture has come, and they say now the people have come to know what is happening to the Kashmiri Pandits. Now, what next? Will the Kashmiri Pandits will get those whose kids and kins have been killed will get the justice? That's number one. Number two,
I'm going to stop you at number one first. They haven't got justice. No, many are still living in camps in Jammu.
Yeah, so many are living in Jati, in camps also, in Mutti Parkhu also. But those kids and kins, the families who have lost their dear ones, They have not yet got the justice during last 32 years.
Right.
And we are telling them, there was a delegation led by Rudri Pratap Rodi way back in 2000, before this government, I think 2010 or 11. So there was other parliamentarian also.
Yes.
I asked them why you are endorsing 219 in parliament. The 219 KPs were killed during last these years. I gave him the list also. And just go and verify this list and get the at least the figures correct. Telling that 4,000 is killed, you must have one must have the figures in your hand. I don't. It's not the matter of 4,000. Even the one casualty is done by the any force. That should be recorded and investigated properly, and the perpetrator should be brought to the justice. And so is with all these things. You just see the Chatti Singhpura, you just see the Majur Nagar, when the 6 were killed. You just see the other massacres in the valley, whether it is a Pandit massacre or it is a Muslim massacre by the state or by the non-state actors. There is a testimony of the Kununposh Fora. So the ladies who suffered basically that mass, they are coming forward. It's not easy for a woman to tell his misery before any person. And there are also the rapes from our community also, not in that large. And nobody is talking about what our community has gone through in Jammu also. Because यही बात है, अगर मुसलमान को काटता है तो वो ठीक है, हिंदू को काटता है तो वो ठीक है, अगर हिंदू मुसलमान को काटेगा तो क्रिमिनल है, अगर मुसलमान काटेगा तो वो जाति है. Like that.
Yeah. And what is the second point? I'm sorry I interrupted you. You said one is justice you need for the Kashmiri Pandits, and
second is what is the roadmap for the return and rehabilitation of thousands of families back in the valley. So for that they have to engage the local civil societies, local common people, not the civil society, because civil society is defined since 2019, and most of them are in jails, and so we don't know what will be their fate in coming months. And number 3 is that the religion preachers, not only in Kashmir but all over India, not like the organizations who are doing politics on religion. I don't want to name you.
Don't need to. There are all kinds.
Yeah, but there are the good people also, good preachers also, good teachers of in every religion, where people are following them, not in thousands but in lakhs. They have it's now their responsibility to come forward and to teach, especially the youngsters, how India can survive in these circumstances. I to be frank enough, as an individual, because I am living here along with my 808 family, we don't want to lose India, the concept of India. We don't want repeat of 1947 when thousands, lakhs of people were killed from both sides, Hindu, Sikhs, Muslims also. But if it will continue like that, the way the movie is going on, and a particular community youths are very violent, वो करेंगे, हम मुस्लिम लड़कियों के साथ शादी करनी है, वो आप उनको इकोनॉमिकली डिग्रेड करना है, it is not possible. But things may go in a wrong way, which will create the problems not only for us those who are putting up in the valley, but wherever the minority is living without caste, creed, and religion, they too will face the burn. If today the Kashmir will burn, I think entire India will burn.
Right. So we will end with that warning. Sanjay ji, thank you so much for giving us the time. Thank you. It's grim words, but real words. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
So that was a very, very grim warning coming from a Kashmiri Pandit who has stayed in Kashmir with his aging mother and his family all through the militancy years of the late 1980s, early 1990s till today. He has warned that minorities, if they continue to be persecuted or feel persecuted and are victimized and are attacked, can lead to a situation of great instability. He has given some ideas and some suggestions of what can be done for the Kashmiri Pandits in real terms in the valley and in Jammu, which is not really much to do with the film that is creating controversy and needless controversy these days. Thank you so much for watching.